So a lot of very specific legal kinds of issues here that it's got to be in some ways kind of overwhelming when you just want to live your life,
Yeah.
be with the person that you love.
We just want to build our lives, build our home, create our financial stability, be good citizens, contribute to our community, just like any other couple. That's what we want to do.
How, if I can ask, how have your families handled and responded and supported or not supported each of you and both of you?
My family is very supportive. My parents weren't always. Maybe 10 years ago, they were still uncomfortable with the whole situation. But then I think they just, had experience with, their gay son and his lifestyle, and that I was a regular person, and the person I loved was also just a regular human being, and the love was just love. And so now they're very supportive.
They grew
yes,
with
very much
everything.
so. It's just a matter of experience for them.
Did you grow up, Bill, in the Twin City area or
northern Minnesota?
Oh, so I'm just maybe stereotyping outstate Minnesota, but I'm thinking it's got to be harder out of the metro area for a gay young man.
I would think so.
The majority of gay citizens in rural Minnesota, when they like get past high school or whatever, they do come to the larger metro areas where they're more accepted.
Hometown area, huh?
Yeah.
So my stereotypical impression is maybe correct.
I would say
it
so.
might be hard. It is
For
hard
in many
upstate.
cases, yeah.
There are certainly gay and lesbian groups and organizations and communities all across the state, but it is much more difficult in smaller towns.
It seems like it would be. There's less diversity in general, so diversity is hard for a lot of people.
It is.
Yeah.
How about your family, Paul?
Well, I'm from Alabama, and my folks also had a really difficult time coming to grips with it. They've known now for, about 20 years, 25 years. So they've gone from the complete, not able to deal with anything and don't want to talk about it, and we love you, but we don't love anything else about it, to they're wonderful now. They came up to visit us just this last year. My mother's 80th birthday was June 1st, and so they flew up from Alabama to be with us on her birthday, and we just gotten back from Canada from our marriage, so they came up to our reception that we had here in Minneapolis for the church and our friends to celebrate our marriage. So they're wonderful.
So they not only support your relationship, but they want you to be able to be married.
Yes.
Is what I'm hearing. And,
yes.
And that's true for your folks too, Bill.
Most definitely.
Do most people in the gay community feel that marriage is something that they have to fight for in terms of a legal right? Or is there a split? I'm asking because I was reading about Senator, is it pronounced Kering?
I think so.
Who shared the fact that he was gay, and he says, let's see if I can quote him, "I don't think society is ready," he said, "to make same-sex unions the equivalent of male-female marriage." So he wasn't thinking as you are that it's critical. Is there a majority, or is there a real split?
The gay community is real diverse on everything, and this is one of the cases as well.
But I think the majority feel that even if they personally don't want to be married, that they certainly think that we should have the right and the choice and the freedom to do that.
There is a great deal of ambiguity about the institution of marriage, quite honestly, and part of it is because marriage is historically based on property rights instead of love.
Back in the biblical days.
And even in our country's days, I mean.
That's true.
If you think about the marriage service, for example, where the bride is given to the husband, I mean, that goes back to when a woman was the property of her father and became the property of her husband. And the thing about, the bride's family pays for the wedding, well, that was the old dowry system. So we have a lot of vestiges still in a system where women were property of men. And many of us who want to support equality across the board on lots of different areas don't want to buy into that kind of a system either. So we're having to redefine what marriage is for us as well. and to make it an institution that not only nourishes our relationship and makes us whole, but also contributes to the well-being of our community and nation.
You said a little bit ago, you both said that there were 1,100 rights that go along with the institution of marriage.
Right.
What are a few of those that we might not think about when we just think of marriage?
Some of them are very simple. For example, if Bill were to be involved in a car wreck and be in the hospital, if I was his legal spouse, I would have immediate access to him and to making medical decisions jointly with him. If I'm not, I can be barred from the hospital room and from any medical decisions. To things like pensions. If I have a 401k and if I die, my legal spouse automatically has that rolled over into their name. If you're not married, up to 70% of that could be taxed to give it to someone else. Things like nursing homes. In the United States, people who are married cannot have their homes taken away from them to pay for nursing home care if they're in their elderly years together.
Right.
But we could. If one of us, if we had to both go to nursing home, you know, we could be forced to sell our home or all those kinds. There's just so many different areas.
And working as you are, Bill, in the medical world, you're, I'm sure, keenly aware of all the things that could happen that could mean nursing home placement, even at a younger age.
I deal with a lot of people who are doing end-of-life issues.
Right.
And so, yes, you do run into that.
So these are very interesting and important examples of some of the rights that I think people take for granted or just don't think about. What do you think, how do you think Minnesota is doing in terms of supporting same-sex marriage compared to other states in the Midwest? Are we ahead, behind, in the middle? I know we've.
Ahead.
I mean, we always think of Minnesota as a progressive state, and yet,
and
not always the case now.
Not being a native Minnesotan, when I moved here, I was definitely struck with the fact that there is a sense of fair-mindedness in Minnesota that's pretty pervasive, and I was really pleased about that. I have lived in 7 states in my life. This is the first state I've ever lived in where I wasn't a criminal. Everywhere I lived, there were sodomy laws. Being a gay man.
Wow.
So it was very refreshing to move to Minnesota and to experience a place where my rights were protected by human rights statutes that Minnesota has. Certainly there are ways to go, and certainly there have been some backpedaling over the last few years as this conservative swing has kind of taken hold. But I just believe in my heart that people who really know gay and lesbian people and know that we're good people and are not blinded by the old stereotypes that being gay is evil or destructive or against God's will, then they know that we're just trying to create good lives, and that's all we really want to do.